If you're an adult receiving SNAP benefits without dependents, listen carefully. The Trump administration just announced that it's not enough anymore to say you're working or looking for work. You now have to prove that you're doing it every single month or risk losing your benefits. Under this new rule, able-bodied adults without dependents must show at least 20 hours per week. That's 80 hours a month of work, training, or approved volunteer service to stay eligible for SNAP. If you have any questions about how to document your hours or what counts as proof, write your question in the comments, and I'll personally reply there with clarity and guidance. Also, please mention your city because implementation can vary from state to state, and I want to give you the most accurate information for your area. In this video, I'll explain exactly what proof the Trump administration is now requiring, who has to provide it, what forms to use, how to report your hours, and what mistakes could get your case closed. By the end, you'll know exactly how to protect your benefits and stay compliant with the new verification system rolling out across the country. SNAP has always had some form of work requirement for a group called able-bodied adults without dependents, or ABODs. For decades, the rule has been simple. If you're in this group and not working or in training, you can only receive 3 months of SNAP benefits within any 36-month period. The federal threshold is 80 hours of verified work or work-related activity per month to remain eligible. During the pandemic, these limits were mostly waived. States paused enforcement because of job losses, business closures, and emergency conditions. But as unemployment dropped and the administration changed its focus, those waivers began to expire. Now, with the Trump administration reinstating and expanding the rule, the focus has shifted from simply participating to proving participation. That's the key difference. Many recipients used to report informally that they were looking for work, but states didn't always follow up. Now, every hour has to be documented and verifiable, meaning pay stubs, attendance logs, or signed proof from employers or organizations. Without it, your case could hit the 3-month time limit, even if you were trying to comply. The rule requires adults without dependents, ages roughly 18 through 64, to engage in work, training, or volunteering for 20 hours per week, averaged across the month. The total target is 80 hours per month, but it can be achieved through multiple sources. For example, a part-time job plus volunteer hours or a job training class. What matters most is documentation. If you're working, your pay stub should clearly list hours and dates. If your hours vary, you can still qualify as long as your total hits 80 for the month. If you have 2 part-time jobs, combine both stubs. If you're in a training program, you'll need an attendance sheet signed by your instructor. Under the Trump administration's new enforcement approach, missing or unverifiable hours now count as a non-compliant month. After 3 non-compliant months within a 36-month window, benefits will stop until you re-qualify by meeting the hour requirement again. That's why every recipient needs to treat documentation as seriously as any other eligibility factor. Acceptable proof includes pay stubs that show both the dates and number of hours worked, job search logs with employer names, contact information, and application dates, volunteer timesheets signed by a supervisor with total hours listed, training attendance records showing weekly participation or program completion. Unacceptable proof includes vague entries like applied to stores, unsigned volunteer sheets, or logs without employer details. If the agency can't verify your information, those hours don't count. States such as Georgia, North Carolina, and New York are already tightening their verification systems, moving to online tracking portals that require weekly updates instead of occasional check-ins. The best strategy is to over-document. Include contact names, phone numbers, and addresses for every job application, volunteer site, or employer. Keep copies of everything you submit. If an agency questions your proof, you'll have evidence ready and avoid unnecessary benefit interruptions. Every state uses a different reporting method, but they all have one thing in common. You must submit proof on time and with all details complete. Most states now use online portals like My Benefits in New York or Georgia Gateway, while others still allow mailed or in-person submissions. Some also accept employer or program uploads directly into your case file. When you get your job search verification form or work activity log, fill it out carefully. Write your name, case number, month covered, and every job you applied to or worked. Include contact information and, when possible, an employer's signature. If you volunteer, ask the organization to provide a signed letter with total hours. Missing deadlines is the top reason people lose benefits. Set calendar reminders for your submission dates, and if a system error or website crash prevents you from uploading, take a screenshot and call your caseworker immediately. That simple proof of effort can protect your benefits from closure. The requirement to prove job search or work hours mainly applies to able-bodied adults without dependents, aged 18 to 64 who are not disabled and not caring for a young child. States can broaden or narrow enforcement slightly, but this is the federal baseline. Exempt individuals include seniors 65 or older, those medically certified as unable to work, pregnant individuals, and adults caring for a child under 14. Some regions with high unemployment can request area waivers, which pause enforcement. But the Trump administration has limited these waivers to fewer counties than before. Even if you think you're exempt, you should still submit proof of that exemption. A doctor's note for medical reasons, a child's birth certificate for caregiving, or a letter showing enrollment in an education or rehabilitation program. Don't assume your caseworker knows your situation. Documented proof is what keeps your record accurate. The Trump administration argues that requiring recipients to prove work hours or job searches ensures accountability and fairness across all states. Officials say that in the past, many states reported job search participation without real verification, creating what they call a paper rule instead of a working rule. According to federal data, about 41 million people currently receive SNAP, but only a fraction fall into the able-bodied adult category. The administration's position is that this group should demonstrate active participation in the workforce or community programs if they can. They believe this approach encourages independence and keeps resources available for families and seniors who truly need assistance. Critics, on the other hand, argue that focusing so heavily on paperwork can punish people who are trying to comply but lack stable hours, internet access, or reliable transportation. However, regardless of political debate, the practical reality for recipients is clear. Proving your hours accurately and on time is now the only way to keep your case open. To put things into perspective, SNAP serves roughly 42 million people nationwide, but only about 3 million are in the able-bodied adult group most affected by these verification rules. For those individuals, each month of non-compliance counts toward a 3 and 36-month limit. 3 months of benefits without proof, and your eligibility stops. The standard threshold, 80 verified hours per month, has not changed, but the enforcement process has. Many states will now cross-check with federal and state wage databases, meaning your employer-reported hours and wages must match what you submit. Any discrepancies could trigger a request for clarification. For most recipients, this means getting organized now, keeping pay stubs, tracking volunteer hours, and maintaining digital copies of every submission. Treat these documents as essential as your ID or EBT card. They're what prove your compliance. Here's a simple way to stay compliant. Create a monthly folder labeled by month and year, both physical and digital. Inside, have 4 sections: pay stubs, volunteer hours, training school, and job applications. Drop in your documents every week so nothing piles up. For job applications, list the date applied, the company name, the position, and the contact person. Add whether it was in person or online and note any interviews. Save rejection emails. They still count as proof you're actively job hunting. For volunteer or training programs, ask for official attendance logs. Supervisors can sign your timesheets or send you verification letters each month. Upload these files or mail them along with your verification form before the deadline. Staying organized makes your compliance process fast and stress-free. The most common problem is missing deadlines. Don't wait until the last day to submit. Upload or deliver your proof at least 3 days early and keep a screenshot or receipt for your records. If your internet or phone goes down, take photos of your documents and email them to your caseworker as a backup. Another issue is incomplete or unclear proof. If your pay stub doesn't show hours, ask your employer for a written statement listing the exact hours worked and dates. If your volunteer sheet lacks a signature, go back and get it signed before submitting. Accuracy and completeness are the keys to staying compliant. If something truly prevents you from meeting the 80-hour requirement, like illness, family emergencies, or transportation breakdowns, request a good cause exemption immediately. Provide evidence such as a doctor's note or repair receipt. States can temporarily pause the time limit for those with documented good cause. Many older recipients remember similar systems in the 1980s, 1990s, and even 2010s. Back then, applicants had to show employer signatures on job search logs or fill out forms listing where they applied. As some viewers mentioned, it rarely led directly to employment, but it proved compliance and allowed benefits to continue. The main difference now is technology. Verification is faster and more precise because states can match your reported hours with wage databases automatically. That makes compliance easier for honest recipients, but also means errors or missed hours are caught instantly. The best lesson from history is this: treat your documentation like a monthly task, just like paying a bill. Keeping a consistent routine is the surest way to avoid confusion and ensure your benefits remain active without interruption. Policies can evolve. States may refine what counts as approved training or how they average fluctuating hours waivers could return if unemployment rises, or the federal government might expand exemptions for certain groups. Stay alert to updates from your local SNAP office or state human services website. Some advocacy groups are pushing for simplified digital forms and clearer exemption processes to help recipients with disabilities or inconsistent schedules. Those adjustments might arrive in 2026 as part of administrative updates. Even with changes, the essentials stay the same. Prove at least 80 hours of qualifying activity each month, document every step, and submit on time. Keep your paperwork system strong, and you'll adapt easily no matter how the details shift. So here's your takeaway. If you're receiving SNAP as an able-bodied adult without dependents, you now have to prove 80 hours a month of work, training, or volunteer activity to keep your benefits. Organize your records, submit on time, and always keep copies of what you send. If you believe you're exempt, document that exemption right away. A medical letter, proof of caregiving, or confirmation that your area is under waiver. If anything goes wrong, request a good cause review immediately to protect your eligibility. If you found this video helpful, please like it and subscribe to Social Security Post for more updates. Write your questions in the comments, and I'll reply with clarity. Also mention your city so I can tell you how your local office might apply these new SNAP proof of work rules. Stay informed and stay protected.